If you're at all into racing games, then you've definitely at this point heard something about Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. Whether good or bad, we're going to look into it and decide whether or not you should buy the game. When it comes down to it, this game really has three sides that we're going to look at, which are the good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll start off with the good. The game has a really good track variety. It's got enough to where you can continually feel like you're racing a different track, and they don't repeat enough. It's not like most games where you'll end up with a reversed version of an older race that you have to do again and again. Every race on the map feels different, and that's a good thing. Another benefit this has is the map variety. You go from a city to a jungle to beaches. There's racetracks around the map. There's a good variety on the map for you to do, which allows for you to pick and choose what type of driving you want to do at any given point. Another thing that I would say is a plus side is the physics of the game. While this is objective, I would say they're better and more consistent than Test Drive Unlimited 2, which was rather inconsistent in having physics that felt good all the time. And finally, this is sad, but there's only one more good part, which is just the planned additional content for the game. Already, for just the first year, it's planned within 3 months to add Ibiza. 3 months after that, a clan war, and then 3 months after that, the casino. During this time, they're also talking about possibly adding bikes and houses that you can buy, which would be a great addition and a good callback to TDU 2, which had these as options. And that brings us to the bad. Obviously, the first one we're going to point out is no houses. It just doesn't feel like a TDU game because of the lack of houses to buy. That was always the way that you stored your cars before. And I'm not sure how they're going to do it now because everybody lives at the Solar Crown Hotel. All your cars are stored there. You have unlimited car storage, so how do houses work if they add them now? Then if we look towards the actual gameplay of the game, the progression is very slow. You don't earn much XP and you don't get a high payout after races relative to the amount of XP you need to level up and the price of cars in the game. And one of the downsides many people have not been enjoying is the always online aspect, which, yeah, if you've seen anything about the game, you know about that one. And then you have the fact that the AI are just a mess. They're extremely inconsistent, as you'll see in the background races. I go from struggling with one having to block towards the run to the line to the next race. I don't see the AI, and I crashed a lot during that one. So the inconsistent AI is definitely a downside to this as well. The AI also just don't give a fuck where your car is. They will drive through you, drive into you. It doesn't matter. When they're racing, the AI have their line that they'll take, regardless of if you're in the way or not. And that becomes problematic because sometimes the car you're driving isn't as fast as the AI, because every class just happens to have one car that's just 10 times better than everything else, which is another problem that you have with a game with a good variety of cars and only having one or two that are actually usable in each class. Speaking of the car list of this game, there's not really a ton of cars. I mean, TDU 2 by the end of its life had 112 cars. Right now in this game, 100. Yeah, not quite what you want for the game that's supposed to be this brand new next best thing for this game series, and it has less cars than the last one. It doesn't really add up to what you want for the game. And if you've seen the video I had before about the failed to purchase bug, that one's pretty bad too. And that's another downside of it being always online, is that sometimes the connection just lapses real quick and it gives you the failed to purchase bug. So you try to buy it again, you get the bug again, you try to buy it again, you get the bug again, so on and so forth. And then suddenly all those cars are in your garage, you're missing all your money, there's no way to sell cars. So you're just out a ton of money for no reason. And that is a very, very annoying bug. Another thing that we would like to see fixed, the lag. If you drive in the city and you get to where there's a ton of street furniture, you'll experience a ton of lag. Dropping frames is a very common thing in this game, and it's why I tend to do races that are more in the outskirts of the city or out in the country, because then you don't have to deal with the lag that you have. And this one's more one of my gripes with the game, is Everything promoting this game was showing this big, important clan battle that was happening between the sharps and the streets, and it's just, it doesn't matter. Like, you play the game and you can go through the entire time and just never deal with that. And that just doesn't seem right, considering how big they were promoting that as being this huge calling point for the game. And that brings me to the next point of why would you even join the streets? Like, the Sharps have been winning every clan battle so far. You get a 50,000 credit bonus if your team wins. Why would you join the streets? There's no benefit to it, really. There's not enough difference in the rewards you get between the two clans to make it beneficial to join one that just keeps losing. So I don't see why that's that big a deal in the game. And a callback to something I mentioned before with the street furniture, how that causes lag. It also just slows your car down. Notice I only specified your car. I didn't say the AI, as they will often just drive straight through the street furniture, having no impact to their speed. And yet at the same time, sometimes you can just drive through it too. That's another bit of inconsistency that this game has that would be really nice if it could be fixed. And now we move on to the final section, which I will just call the ugly. And we just gotta start off with the launch of this game. 8 hours of downtime when it was supposed to start. All because the servers just wouldn't allow you to connect. No reason for this. If you pre-ordered the game, you will know about that issue. Well, if you pre-ordered the gold edition. And it's just one of those things that should be fixed. It should work at launch, at least to log you into the servers. And that's just a bad look for this game. Like, if you're trying to get people to want to buy your game, you want that pre-launch time. When if you pre-ordered a better version of the game, you get to play it. You want that to go well, and it just didn't. And that goes into the next point of how the gold edition, they just didn't get the full time. And it was because of this horrible launch. Now, I know that the developers have said that they will compensate the people who had problems with this launch. It's just, how do you compensate and make people actually like the fact that that's what you've done? How do you make them feel like it actually is impactful for them because of the problems that happened at launch? I don't know how they go about that. And they haven't said what the compensation will be yet. Which just goes into the whole server health problem with this game, which is just, I don't know if they're going to work right or not. I mean, I haven't had problems lately, but just 2 days ago, after they even did their back-end server maintenance fix, I tried to play a race with my friend. We join a group together, we start the race, both load into it, and then just get stuck on a loading screen for 5 minutes and never get into the race, and just have to restart the game. How is that making it fun? How is that making it where you want to play the game? I just don't see how that's supposed to work, because that's after they already did some server maintenance. So I don't see how this game is supposed to work right now. And let's just look at the graphics. I mean, let's face it, they're not good. But you can't say they're horrible. Nighttime of the game actually looks pretty decent. It's just, the game doesn't really know what it's going for. Like, it tries to look realistic, and then it doesn't. I don't know why. I can't look at it and tell you exactly what the problem is. And I've seen people say, oh, it just looks like PS3 graphics, but it's not even that. The graphics are okay. It's why they're here and not in the bad section. They're definitely not in the good, but it's something that it needs work. And then let's look back at that car list. Like I said, right now there's 100 cars in the game. Doesn't sound awful. But then you notice that you get to that 100 by having a bunch of special editions of cars. I think the Ford GT, there's 4 versions of it on just the 2016 Ford GT. And then you have the Audi R8, which also has a bunch of special editions. It's just, what are we going for? Like, are we going for a variety of one type of car having a bunch of special versions, or do we want all these different cars? And I feel like that's more what the community would like. And let's go back to TDU 2, where You had the Audi RS5 and S5. I mean, I love those cars. I have an A5. I love Audis. And just there's a lack of variety of them in this game. I mean, at least this one we do get more McLarens than TDU 2 had. But I don't think the lack of variety makes up for all the special editions of cars. I mean, even to get to that 100, you have to include the Season 1 car that isn't even possible yet because Season 1 got pushed back 2 weeks. You have to include the pre-order car of the Ford GT. You have to include special edition cars, as I've already talked about, and gold and silver edition pre-order cars. Or just not necessarily pre-order, but you had to order the gold or silver version of the game. And it takes those to even get you to the 100, as well as one car that's just not available until you reach max level in the game. I mean, that's just not a good look. And yet, even with all this being said, at the end of the day, this game, I know it's extremely flawed, it feels unoriginal, it's in dire need of the developers to save it. And yet I absolutely love the game for just some unknown reason. It doesn't look the best of the racing games that I have. I mean, that would be Gran Turismo 7. It looks 10 times better than this. It doesn't have the car variety of Motorfest, which is up over 700 cars right now. And it doesn't have the server reliability to even make up for the mess that it has been to this point. But there's just something special about this game that I can't describe. Like, to me, it's like my first car. You know, she was unreliable, she wasn't fast. You know, when I got her, she wasn't pretty. And yet, I just still love that Mini Cooper that I had. And for some unknown reason, this game gives me same sort of vibe as that, of just loving it for no reason, and it makes no sense. Maybe it's the nostalgia of, you know, TDU 2, staying up for hours, playing, you know, races with my friends, playing in the casino and the DLC. It doesn't make sense. But against all odds, all the downsides of this game, all the time I've spent just dragging this game through the mud, I keep finding myself booting it up and just spending time racing, driving around the island. And I don't know why. Like, if you're looking for a good racing game, this isn't it. This isn't a good game, but I still find myself playing it every day. Like, in terms of the quality of the game, I would really only give it like a 3 or 4 out of 10 right now. But I keep coming back. And for that reason, personally, I think it needs more 7 or 8 out of 10, and I would recommend buying it. But you have to be able to recognize the game is a mess. The game is not in a good state right now. You're buying it for the hope of what it can be. And that's not always a good plan. Sometimes that'll work out. I mean, if we just look at Cyberpunk, if we look at No Man's Sky, those games had horrible launches, but became these great games after time. And that's what we have to hope this game becomes. Because otherwise, it was not worth it to get it at all. So get this game on the hope of what it can be in the future. And that would be the only reason I would say to get it. Because it is a mess right now. And we just have to hope that this gets better. So that is my verdict on this game. If you have other thoughts, please leave them down below. I would love to hear your ideas on it. And I'd love to know what you think this game has, either going for it, not going for it, and if you have the game. That being said, thank you for watching. I am out. Peace.